Welcome back to the home studio. Welcome to episode 99 of the Stevie Richards Show. And based on it being take 8, you would never know we did 98 episodes before this one. But let's go over to my co-host, James Romero, who made his debut this past weekend officially on Cameo.
Yeah, well, you messaged me and said, any chance you'd do a cameo for me? And it just so happened I was wearing the stupidest vest in the world because it was really sunny, smoking a cigar and drinking a beer in my garden. And you were just like, you look like such a butthole in that video. And it's like, well, it's what? It just so happened to be that's what I was wearing.
Well, actually, the more accurate, hey, by the way, Chris, after I'm done talking, insert that. It's up on Dropbox, the actual cameo from James. I was going to say, I used the word douchebag, but butthole fits too. You look like, I was like, you're short of burning your plastic pounds now. I discovered your money is not made out of paper. It's made out of some kind of plastic material.
Some polymer or other. Hey, it means that you can wash them and you don't ruin your money. That's basically it.
All the plastics have to go somewhere. I'd rather them go into the money than the ocean. So
yeah,
there we go.
I guess so. So anyway, well, that was take, 9? Was it?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
Everybody wants bloopers and outtakes. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, you told me, right, stop recording. We've got to start it again. And you did that. You weren't that angry.
I wasn't that angry. We both have our NASs now. You're very disappointed it came diskless, but we have to start archiving things and keywording them. That way Chris has an easier time for maybe the outtake compilation. There'll be definitely plenty more, so don't worry.
I don't know what I was expecting when you said diskless, because it's just a box.
Yeah, it's not like my vertebrae, diskless right now. So there you go. I have another one. I have a Ugreen one coming to review on Chase's tech and gaming channel, so I'm looking forward to that. We have way too many monitors. That was the first take because I have to put up the monitors and everything to make it look like Tank from the Matrix. So when we have the updated behind-the-scenes tour that I like doing, everybody's going to see how many monitors we have in here right now. I don't know why. I'll find a reason. It's kind of like the Slim Jim table. They're monitors looking for something to display on them rather than having something to display on a monitor.
We, like the people who've got the most monitors are either really big enthusiasts of like flight sims, or they seem to be like obsessed with crypto or stock prices, I think.
I'm more towards the flight sim and racing sims that we're going to have in here. But yes, episode 99. We are one episode away from 100. And yes, I have been scouting locations and trying to find out if I can create a special opening for episode 100. We actually discussed that on the pre-show on patreon.com/Stevie Richards, and also did a watch-along. Eventually did a watch-along, which was Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor from WrestleMania 11. We also talked about the difference in the eras, how much that did hurt Bam Bam's career after losing the LT, and now 2026, you can't really get hurt like that kind of wrestling a celebrity.
Yeah, that really killed his career in the WWF ultimately. Or somebody made an excuse for it to kill his career. Something along those lines.
There could be probably an entire James Romero kind of conspiracy episode on that, I'm sure.
I would definitely like to do an entire video on every single person allegedly the Click had an issue with and how it affected them. Because last time I wrote a list, it was about 20 different people from like Jean-Pierre Lafitte.
Is that before
Bob
a week
Holly.
ago? Is that before a
Oh,
week
yeah,
ago?
it was long before a week ago.
Okay.
Long before a week ago. Right. I haven't even written down the intros. I've got a channel. Stevie's got channels. What do we say for
He
intros?
doesn't have a channel, so we can't go with that.
I know, we've all got a channel at the moment. Cameo. Stevie Richards has got a Cameo channel. Is that a channel? It's not a channel, but he's got a service he does on Cameo, where he will take your requests, not all of them, but most of them, into consideration. He's way too cheap and he gets 5 stars across the board because he gives you way more than your money's worth. Go and support Stevie by getting yourself a Cameo, get yourself something back for the support as well. And also the Patreon if you want to support the show as a whole. We have all the watch-alongs every single week. We've got the show before the show. We've got the notes. We've got the backstage stuff. The monitor video that's going to be coming up quite soon, apparently, where Stevie's going to be filming all of his monitors up, and you can truly see how many there's... I don't know how many there are. You only brought that up in the intro.
Okay, Apple Studio Display. Chase is sending me a knockoff Apple Studio Display. The Prompter XL counts as a display. It's 16 inches here. The 27-inch U-Perfect, the 24-inch touchscreen, which is going to be here to switch scenes with Ecamm Live, the Vizio 24-inch, the 55-inch smartboard. By the way, there's another smartboard coming, and I'm actually going to be doing with the What Went Wrong. If I do solos, one screen's going to have the What Went Wrong, and one screen. Whatever. I'm just trying to. I don't know what I'm doing. I need
You've
help.
got all the tech.
I
You've
need
got all
help.
the tech, and you need ideas for
somebody
this
needs
tech.
an intervention. Please. I haven't gotten to the garage gym and all the smart trainers out there. Please help me.
I've got something that'll drive you up the wall, right? I've got 2 monitors. I really need 3, but I don't have an extra HDMI input. But these 2 monitors, they're both LG. But the one that I'm looking on you on is a cheap one, and the color isn't quite right on it. You know what I mean? It's not like true to life color that broadcasts on like everyone else's phones and stuff. So to see what the color is actually going to look like on my preview screen, I've got to drag it over to the good screen. It's like,
I get that. Which one do I look
I thought
less
that would drive you up the
sick in?
wall.
Which one do I look less sick in? I guess the new one.
No, the one that you're not on, unfortunately. But the thing is, like, do you remember, like, for ages, I had the prompter in front of the camera, and I was looking at you through that, but it, like, washed me out every single week. And for some reason, it washed me out more with the new camera than it did the old camera, so we just kind of just gave up. So that's the reason why, like, you look at me on the camera, but I look off to the side.
Yeah, I just think you're ignoring me most times, but you're not. Well, you might be. Who knows?
I'm ignoring you when you're looking that way, because I'm just looking at my browser.
That's why I kind of on the openings tried to kind of like, get you by surprise, kind of like right there, but.
Yeah, but you've done it for like 20 weeks in a row now, so I'm kind of used to it.
I know, that's why I stopped doing it for a while, and then I
pouncing.
bring it back. Yeah, I got to give you a false sense of security. But with the prompter, that's why sometimes, like, if you bring up a screen and it's a white background, that washes me out too. So it's not so much the prompter, but the the background or even the web browser here on the left, my left, I have to go into dark mode to make sure it doesn't, wash out the white bounce on that. But this is a wrestling show, everybody, so please stay tuned for some wrestling talk.
Yeah, I was just wondering, did we talk about the Bradshaw chair shot? I'm thinking about something for episode 100. I was like, did we talk about the Bradshaw chair shot on this channel? And not only did we, it's got nearly 200,000 views.
Oh, wow. And we talked about it on one or both of the WSI interviews before we started working together. I know you brought that up on one of those.
Yeah, that was. Did we do 2 interviews or 1 on that?
2. I
think
we do 2. Yeah, and after the second one, I started pestering you about doing the show.
Yeah, I remember because I was in Japan at the time, and you said that was just like in a period where I was traveling like ridiculous amounts everywhere, and I was like, I'm done after that.
And that was WrestleMania 40, your infamous Raven interview in Philly.
Oh God, that's one thing I'm going to do on my channel: the best and worst interviews I've ever done. I'm straight up stealing from Maven now, but I don't care.
Your new channel should be making friends with James Romero. How's that?
Do you know what? I've got enough friends.
There you go.
Do you ever feel like that way? It's like, yeah, I've got.
The worst part is actually in my world where I, for decades was a part of, when you make that discovery of the difference between wrestling acquaintances, wrestling friends, which not much of a difference, and then real friends in the real world. That is an epiphany that you learn throughout time and everything.
This show doesn't really have a theme today to get into the meat of it. We were kind of just thinking, God, there are a lot of what went wrongs going on. There's other stuff that we feel like we have to talk about as well, but also we want to talk about a couple of bits of story happening in WWE and AEW as well. And I thought we'd open up with, this is something you've not paid attention to at all, and I said to you, it's the best thing going in wrestling at the moment. I don't watch CMLL. I'll say that now. But I think the El Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano feud is the best thing happening in wrestling. Because, if nothing else, the Mexican audience is so much better than, like, any other crowd in the world. They're great. They eat everything up. 2, and it's not just El Grande Americano feud, These shows are so easy to watch. They're just an hour in and out. And we'll talk about how good the rest of it is as well at some point as well. But before we get to El Grande versus El Grande, we have to talk about one of the alleged people playing El Grande Americano, and that is Ludwig Kaiser, real name Marcel Barthel. On Tuesday, while Mr. Kaiser was in Mexico, he was prompted to fly back to Florida because he had to face some charges, misdemeanor battery, I think it was. He was placed into custody and released after posting $1,000 bond, and the alleged victim is a neighbor in the same apartment complex. This is the victim's version of events, and we'll get to the other version in a minute. The victim stated he was battered by an unknown white male just outside the elevator on the 12th floor. The victim advised that at approximately 18:30 hours he entered the elevator and was followed by an unknown white male and an unknown white female. The victim stated that as the elevator ascended, the male and female began acting in an uncontrollably intimate manner, which he described as aggressively kissing. The victim stated that once the elevator reached the 12th floor, he exited the elevator and told the couple to, quote, please have some manners. The victim advised that immediately after making the statement, the unknown male began attacking him. The victim described the attack as the male punching him multiple times and pushing him to the ground. The victim further stated that the male made threats of additional violence towards him. That's the victim's version. Ludwig Kaiser, apparently, I guess he got it through other news outlets. This is basically their version, is that he and his girlfriend were not... she's like the model announcer in AAA, who's been playing into the storylines recently as well. They weren't aggressively kissing. It wasn't overboard. And the guy, the alleged victim, got off the lift and said, if you don't knock that off or whatever it is, I'm going to call ICE on that girl, basically. And Ludwig then apparently confronted the man, but he says, or his camp says, that he did not punch him.
Well, you said in the notes too, and this is where it's really going to be a kind of an open and shut case, is the security footage. So the police have the security footage, and you said in the notes that they ended up prosecuting off the security. You know, you assume they saw it wasn't just based off of the guy's, you know, the guy's statement, or maybe it was, and maybe they got to hash it out, which is really not the way to, you know, just guilty until proven innocent type thing. Make the guy fly back, the mug shots everywhere. You know, he posted the bail or the bond, and then he was allowed to travel internationally, so, or back to Mexico. But yeah, this is something here. I don't know this guy, Ludwig Kaiser, this English kid. I don't know him.
Yeah, maybe it was Ric Flair. He was the old man.
Said, yeah, you stupid English kid. That's what
my
got his
brother.
ire up. But I have to think in this day and age, even if he's 35, he's not 25 and he's not British, but he's old enough to know, and also being in the spot he's in WWE, I'm sure now, if not a long time ago, they're really making everybody super aware. When you're in public, don't get in the fights. Don't do this. It's not worth it. Maybe the guy, you know, did say something like he said, which would have prompted anybody, husband, boyfriend, spouse, you know, even close friend. You insult somebody in a very lowbrow way, as Ludwig Kaiser said, this guy did. You're gonna get in his face and say, apologize or something, or whatever. But this is probably another thing for other wrestlers to know. Like, if someone's doing this or saying stuff or trying to provoke you, just walk away, just close the elevator door. Now, no matter what happens, even if Ludwig Kaiser is 100% innocent in all this, he's got to go through the legal system, and it's just a pain, and it's not fun, and it's actually quite scary, putting your whatever future in what could play out with this. Not to mention, if this guy claims he did assault me and do whatever, and there might be like a chest bump or whatever, now you got to worry about settling some kind of civil matter to make this guy go away. Just my speculation on all this.
It's interesting how in the victim statement it say unknown white female, and then in the other version it is, I'm going to call ICE on that woman. You know what I mean? There's very much some sort of, no one's meeting in the middle here with some of the key facts.
Well, that's the police description of taken from that. You know, and the guy's not going to be like, yeah, there was this girl, and I told her, like, you know, go back to I've been watching a lot of body cam videos on YouTube and true crime and everything. people will still say this is the way it happened, and literally just right in front of the cops, showing them the body cam footage, say, that's not what happened. That's AI. That's another thing too, where we live in the age where somebody's going to say it's AI. And I'm not saying I'm in the middle on this, so we don't know, but the body cam footage, or security footage, I should say more specifically, is going to tell the story. So hopefully cameras will reveal the truth, and hopefully for Ludwig Kaiser's sake, it's not going to be something where WWE or AAA are going to take him off TV. But you said in notes as well, and we'll get to that, he was welcomed as a hero when he went back to Mexico.
Yeah, so they had to postpone, I guess, for a day, like a celebration of El Grande Americano, which is so bizarre because he's German. But the thing is, I think, did you see that mural? There was a mural painted
in Ghana.
Yeah, in Ghana. What?
Where was it? He's like Fandango should have been even more for longer after that WrestleMania, where the song went #1 on iTunes, and if everybody's doing this, on everything, yeah. I think people just want to be entertained and people want to have fun, and they know it's so ridiculous that this guy who's like what, a foot taller than Chad Gable is just, and Chad Gable being a lucha libre guy in the beginning as El Grande Americano, as just so over the top ridiculous. It's entertaining and people appreciate it.
We'll get to that and like the American version of it all at the moment, but you've been watching some clips from AAA in the last month or so. It's like, one, I swear that's the best brawl I've seen in years. I also saw a brawl on Twitter recently. A video came up of Sting and Rick Rude in the early 90s, and it was great.
Oh, was that the outside the ring where did look like Rude was just laying into him, and they had the camera like kind of over top as they were like kind of like struggling?
Yeah, they were almost doing like Rick Rude was like doing a crocodile roll with a guillotine constantly as well, and that looked like a great brawl.
It was like a press conference or some kind of contract signing type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And it was really good. But like this was as good. I think the one that you saw that like from like 4 or 5 weeks ago or something. And there were like these throws and just leaping into each other. And it was great. It's like, why can't people brawl anymore like this?
Well, if this keeps up, then I can see TKO shutting down AAA forever, because you just talked about it on a grander scale. Let's look at the big picture of everything and what we talk about with Raw, SmackDown, and not the PLEs much anymore, but there was a time where, remember, WrestleMania 29 was like 8 hours, 11 hours, whatever. They got out there after midnight. You're talking about in and out, 1 hour show, lots of action, storylines to progress, makes sense. They don't forget. They go and they do the callbacks and everything like that. They have a great amount of entertainment, real brawls, real like blood feud type stuff, and mixed in with some really interesting wrestling. To me, that's what's wrong with wrestling right now, with the 2 to 3 hour shows twice a week. And like, that might be why AAA is popular too. We know that when we go in there, we're getting an hour, we're in and out, we can invest it, and they're going to leave me wanting more for the next episode. So Undertaker's got some heat right now with TKO. Do good, but don't too good. And he's doing a great job being a booker.
Hey, well, there was a theory that, well, Triple H is just re-signed. So that theory doesn't hold as much water as it once did. But Undertaker and co seems to be doing such a great job in AAA that there was a well, could he replace Triple H? But as we were talking about off air, it's one thing to book one 1 hour show a week. It's completely another to be responsible to 5 to 6 hours plus pay-per-views every week.
And also answer to TKO directly. I would think that Undertaker kind of has the opportunity to have his own autonomy to some extent. Like TKO, are they really paying attention that much with all the other stuff they're paying attention to? And then we're going to talk about later on the show, they got the UFC thing at the White House coming. That's a big PR push right there. So maybe Taker's kind of like getting the benefit of having the autonomy because he's kind of under the radar as far as corporate, not creative. But man, that's like, AAA is looking like more viable as a third brand than NXT in a lot of ways over the past few weeks or months.
Yeah, well, it's got its own style. as well.
And
But
it
I
looks
mean,
like, but it doesn't it look like more you're big into saturation, color schemes, stuff like
oh, it's
that.
horrible, the color scheme in it.
Well,
But do
but,
you prefer it?
but what I'm talking about with AAA is, to me, for some reason, I said this on the previous thing that I watched for that weeks back, it has more of a Saturday Night's Main Event feel to me. Like when we had just Saturday Night's Main Event happen, it has a mix between old school, kind of making the audience completely blacked out, the spotlight in the ring type thing, but it still has a major promotion TV/pay-per-view type of presentation and atmosphere. Color schemes removed from that. Don't you think like there's something about WWE, like you said, about the hardcore stuff? It's too sterilized with a lot of the violence. AAA doesn't have that. AAA has a good mix of a little bit more of the underground indie type feel, but also with a lot of like high production quality.
I feel it's really cold. It's really cool, the lighting. I would like a bump in the production for it. But like, how do you get that balance between bumping up production values and, as you say, not making it look either too corporate, too overproduced, or too sanitized?
You know what you can do? You can take some of the best things about um which called, oh God, I forget the name already. Lucha Underground.
Oh, but that
Take
color
some of
scheme was purposely, that was really warm color scheme. You know, like when any show goes to Mexico for the day, and then they just have that, that warm filter.
well, what I'm talking about more specifically is the more of the cinematic approach that Lucha Underground took. That really, if you can take little things from there and kind of plug them into AAA, that can get, I'd rather them not go too far with that. Like you just said, how far do you go before it's way too far with the production quality and it looks too sterilized and too much? You know what it is too? Sometimes WWE can look like a video game, especially with those 8K cameras on the entrances, which is super cool. I wish I had that camera. But in AAA, it still feels like professional wrestling. I don't know if I'm quite putting it correctly.
We'll
Gritty, a
fast
little
forward.
grittier sometimes. That
Yeah.
could be, yeah.
We'll fast forward a few weeks, and this happened a couple of days ago. Anyway, so this is already after the arrest, and Ludwig Kaiser's gone back. And the story going into it is that they can't touch each other. But I'll explain more in a second. But they can't touch each other in Mexico because the first person to initiate a hit on the other, the match is called off, and that person has to lose their mask. That's the story. So they can't touch each other. But then Chad Gable's El Grande original then takes off his top and reveals it's got his girlfriend and says fired on it, basically. And then like they're all held back from fighting because they've both got their subordinates, and then eventually they break free and they both attack each other at the same time. And then Rey Mysterio, who's just been announced as the new GM, the babyface GM, comes out and says, yeah, I know the stipulation, but forget about it. We're going to do it at the show anyway because, damn it, that's what the fans want. And I thought, is that like, as far as storyline goes, is that just a really good way for the GM to announce their authority and say, yeah, I know we promised this. Yes, we're not going to disappoint the fans and basically overrule whatever's just happened.
Yeah, I think it's really good. You know what the number one thing that I think is the best part about what you just described with Ray? You didn't ignore the fact that there was a stipulation. How many times in wrestling do they just ignore and they do the Men in Black thing and expect you not to remember?
Even more, you know how Sol Ruca and Becky Lynch was not for the US title, and then they promoted it online as for the US title. Then they deleted those posts and then had to repost not for the US title again. But that's almost like one hand doesn't know what the other's doing, or not even paying attention.
Yeah, but here's the other thing with that. I mean, that's off topic a little bit, but boy, you already given away the finish of the match to most fans, to mostly everybody if it's non-title. And it's a really big deal when you want to put the belt on the line, when you want a championship match as a booker on Saturday night's main event, not have a non-title and then continue it on. That's the problem too, with way too many hours of wrestling, way too many shows. That AAA kind of like really does stand out because we we aren't going to make this so stale that we have to have 9 titles and all this stuff just to fill in the weeks until we can get to the point where it matters.
Next week, it is actually going to be Mask versus Mask in Monterrey, Mexico. I think it's this weekend, in fact, so I guess it's on Saturday. I'm really looking forward to it because this is like the most exciting I can be, you know, exciting wrestling out there for me that I, watch. Here's the thing, though. With El Grande Americano 1 and 2, with WWE, Chad Gable does it first, does a great job with it, gets injured. Ludwig Kaiser then takes over, and then just randomly one week, and people kind of just like accept it quite quickly because he does it completely different. Then they start taking the feud over, or Ludwig starts appearing in Mexico. At some point, it becomes a massive babyface because he can speak Spanish, and the other one couldn't. So for some reason, they figure Chad Gable's version was a parody, and Ludwig Kaiser's isn't. It's so weird. But here's the other thing that's even crazier, is that in WWE, since Chad Gable came back, and they've started doing the El Grande thing in the States, in WWE, it has been a wet fart. It's been terrible. The fans couldn't care less. Why can't WWE get this right? Because it's been pushed on WWE TV for months and months and months, whereas AAA gets it right every time.
I couldn't really tell you. That's just one of the things where the fans will decide what they like and don't like. And also, everybody knows it's Chad Gable in the US, and it's played. And I think people just want Chad Gable to come back because Chad Gable is incredibly entertaining. And even in the beginning with El Grande Americano, they had all the old, like, very sepia tone, kind of like old wrestling poster type thing. They had him doing vignettes down there. It's kind of played out in the States. And maybe the Mexican fans, the way I'm looking at it is, they want to enjoy the show each and every week. They want to be taken on the ride, where a little bit more with the American fans is, all right, you already did the thing for 2 weeks. Let's move on. I can see that. There's more interest as time goes on in AAA with the El Grande Americano feud, and there's less as time goes on with most of the feuds in WWE.
But it just works. I don't get it. I don't get why
Run
it
with
works
it.
so well.
In other
But it's the
words-
performers, though. The performers make it work.
Yeah, and Chad Gable's an amazing performer. Maybe it's time for Chad Gable to come back. And obviously, the worst thing would probably be at this point to have Chad Gable go over this Saturday, and the fans in Mexico will they may turn on him for that, but they might not care anymore either. So we're going to run with Ludwig Kaiser as probably the most popular babyface right now in AAA, and running with that all the way up to the title.
They definitely should.
Dominic's still the champion?
He is.
That's awesome. Right there. And you
One
got
more
Ray as the GM. That's going to be a great storyline.
Speaking of Ray, there's a theory going around that maybe Ray's, and there's been theories about this for years, Ray's pretty much done. I think he said he wants to wrestle Dominic. Once again, obviously, of course he would. But like, he's been moved into a GM role. I think last year he was injured in a calendar year, or in 12 months, like injured like 4 times. And it seemed like he was getting injured every other match at one point. So I don't know if he's just figuring that his body can't do it anymore, or like he can do the moves, but his body just is kind of falling apart with all the surgeries. And
It's
stuff.
all the in-between stuff. The recovery becomes an issue when you're traveling and doing all that stuff. We're going to get that with the Saul Ruca segment in the What Went Wrong about how that factors into a lot of things performance-wise. And I'm sure Ray's like, I'd rather leave too early than too late, or stop too early than too late, because you want people to leave with good memories. Here's my question. It's got to be brought up anytime someone talks about possibility of hanging it up, retirement. He obviously wants to wrestle Dominic, which is great. But is WWE looking at a different person to have his last match with? And you know who I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
Oh my God, you don't know? It's
El Grande Americano?
No.
Chad Gable?
Gunther.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
No, I'm just saying,
Miles
isn't
off
that like the too much on the nose? He's retiring.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think it is. Because to be honest, really, I mean, how much good has it really done Gunther? Really?
nothing right now. Not after, because you lost all the momentum and then you had the Seth Rollins match, which obviously he went over, but his thing was doing that for a while, and then it just got kind of cooled down.
We're going to move on. We're going to go to AEW, more specifically television issues. So I've seen articles being written on it, like, for and against. Ultimately, we don't know that, and I'll spoil that for you right now. But here's the position, and Tony Khan's had to address this as well as a recent. Paramount Skydance are the people who are going to be buying Warner Brothers Discovery. That includes all the Turner stations. That includes HBO Max. Basically everything that AEW is on. And the only two suitors, as it were, who were in the mix to buy Warner Brothers Discovery was Netflix and Paramount Skydance. And they both have connections to TKO. With Paramount, it's very close with UFC because they bought all the shows, pretty much. And Netflix with WWE Raw and all the international programming, in fact, as well as, I was going to say the PLEs, but domestically, that's ESPN. So anyway, there have been theories abound that because AEW's television deal is coming up in 2027, that if this deal is done between Paramount Skydance and Warner Brothers Discovery for $80-odd billion, whatever it might be, that TKO could use their undue influence, maybe, and shove AEW off of Turner Broadcasting or any Paramount or owned property going forward. I mean, where do you sit on all that? Do you think it's too early to tell? Have you got any conspiracies out there? What do you think?
No, I wanted to talk about this particular thing because I really do want to bring awareness to the fact that AEW is necessary to keep not only surviving, but thriving in the wrestling landscape. We need competition in pro wrestling, real competition, not the WWE TNA thing where they're kind of doing whatever, or you have the alternative brands that are under the TKO WWE umbrella. We need true competition. And from what I've seen with Double or Nothing, like AEW is hitting a new stride with this, and really, like, it was just, like you said, best show of 2026 so far. You did a video on your solo channel. From what I saw, I watched the Joe Ospreay match. Amazing match. Joe was in ROH form. I put that in there because that was when I became a huge fan of Samoa Joe. Edge and Christian for the tag belts against FTR. There was lots of callbacks in that pay-per-view when it came to WWE, ROH Town, other things like that. I do recommend, if you can watch the entire pay-per-view, watch it. If not, they put a lot of clips up there and stuff like that that are very, very entertaining and really had a very sports-based product presentation too. Very competitive. Like it reminded me of pro wrestling, not sports entertainment.
Do you know what it didn't have? About 80 minutes downtime between matches and 60 minutes of adverts. How many matches were on the damn thing? 9? 10? It went too long. 4 hours, 10 minutes is too long for a pay-per-view. I'd prefer it at 3. Cut it down to 7, 8 matches. Get the best ones out there. Because there were like a few down moments, but overall there are at least 5 to 6 matches that are really worth going out of your way to see.
But let me counter that real quick. What is Tony Khan giving that if you're buying your however many thousands of dollars worth of tickets to sit somewhere in a building for Raw or SmackDown, especially a Raw on Netflix, or even if they're looking at the PLE, like WrestleMania, they were doing ads for everything, and they had the commentator, the Wish, Make-A-Wish commentator and all that stuff, or Buy-A-Wish, as you called it. But what is Tony Khan giving with Double or Nothing and even with the TVs? A really incredible value for your money. So too much wrestling in theory is whatever, but if you're paying tickets, or you traveled and you get a hotel, rental car, you're traveling to see the pay-per-view, you are getting your money's worth from AEW, which I assume the tickets were a lot more affordable for Double or Nothing, and you're looking it up, than even a WWE TV. This whole thing with, instead of competing to see who the best promotion is, who the best company, who has the best product, oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to eliminate them because they're gaining momentum and because they're a viable alternative to WWE and TKO. Let's just try to take them off TV instead of making our product better.
Well, that's what worries me, is because, like, Vince said, okay, right, another video came up on my feed a few days ago, and it was Vince McMahon and Off the Record with the Canadian guy.
Michael Rosenberg.
No, that wasn't him, was it?
Wasn't Michael? His name was
Landsberg or something, maybe?
Maybe that, yeah.
Anyway, and he was asked...
I like four different radio show hosts and presenters.
And he was asked like 2004, and he said, "Do you miss WCW?" And he went, "Yeah, I do." Vince knew, as big of an idiot as he was at times, as far as like thinking it was him versus Ted Turner in his mind only, and that he was going to crush the competition, which I'm sure he really wanted to, and I'm sure Bischoff wanted to do with Vince as well. But in the cold hard light of day, competition is good, and AEW ultimately is not competition to WWE, not on that level. But what it is great for is free. Look, if WWE, if nothing else, should think of this as free developmental for them, and better developmental than NXT.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. When I say competition, and I want AEW to get on the level of WWE. I want those wrestlers to make a ton of money, be there as long as their bodies hold up, and even afterwards, like a Paul White and other people, that AEW keeps you there as an ambassador or any other role within the company. I'm talking about competition as an alternative for us who view the stuff, for the wrestling fans, that they can see something different. And obviously, it's very tribalistic. The people that love AEW don't even care about WWE, and then the other way around. But I'm here to tell you that, like what TKO is trying to do by essentially, let's not even care about putting on a better product that makes more sense, where AAA is actually outshining us. Let's just get rid of AEW before, or let's do these backdoor things, and let's maybe, as MJF, speculated, let's create the rumors and the speculation that their TV deal is in jeopardy, so we can kind of, I don't know, like put it out there so maybe it becomes a reality, put it out in the universe.
Yeah, that's interesting because WWE are absolutely not above that. Because did you ever hear of these? What were they called? Like these fast national viewership numbers that they got. So instead of having to wait 4 days, whatever, because it was like a weekend or something, you could get fast nationals, which I think were metrics based on like the top 10 or top 20 like biggest cities, and then kind of extrapolate from there. And they'd be wildly different to the final number from like Nielsen. But the theory is that it was only WWE who could access these fast nationals, and they would release them if they thought that they had a much better day than AEW did. So it's one of those things
treating
where,
AEW like competition then.
Exactly. They absolutely are. And they're trying to put the thumb on, and they have been for years. And, they put the foot on the gas sometimes and they take it off sometimes. But that's an example. Just because you asked before as well, All In, London All In, cheapest tickets to get in, you're looking at $40. SmackDown in Kansas City, the cheapest, because that's all a resale ticket. I don't want the resale tickets. The nearest one that isn't a resale ticket, the cheapest resale ticket's $90. I can't find any more, but it's like well over 100 to get in for a basic SmackDown for the worst seats.
For the worst seats, but you can go to, and based off of some of these pay-per-view costs and everything of thousands of dollars, you can go fly to England, go to All In, see the show, eat some food, do whatever, fly back for maybe the cost of like the WrestlePalooza tickets or less, from way back when they were charging what, $6,000 for WrestlePalooza?
Oh,
to
dude,
sit on the floor.
I was going to go to Italy for Clash in Italy just to see how expensive it was going to be. And then my wife said no. She bought me some tickets for something for my birthday. And it was the same day. So, all right, I can't really go then, which is fine.
Did you price it out, though?
Way more expensive than you think. Manchester, Turin isn't, I don't think there's any direct flights. So it'd have to be like a stopover, and it's just,
Is the Shroud of Turin going to make a debut there at Clash Italy?
I don't think that is in Turin. Is it?
It was. Well, it was a Shroud of Turin, so I don't know exactly where it is now. But what I'm saying too is like, there you go. You could probably, you were talking about, I'll go over there, and even if it wasn't a conflict of,
oh, it is in Turin. I'm sorry, I thought they were bringing it to London for some reason.
They have replicas all over the place. But what I was saying was, when your wife said, "Oh, I'm buying you this," before that, you were probably still looking at that, going, "Wow, that's a pretty expensive to get there, fly there." Then the tickets are probably even more so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about fuel charges and everything for flights. I mean, that's a whole different thing. But what I'm saying is AEW definitely needs to lean, and maybe that's why what TKO is starting to realize, like, man, we still got to get our bottom line. We still got to overcharge. We got to squeeze these people. We got to get brand new fans. The old fans are not over, Shug. We need the new fans. Turn them upside down off the hotel balcony and shake them upside down for their money. And that's a little Suge Knight Eminem reference right there. Or Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice, sorry.
Same
But
thing.
I know, I don't want to confuse it right there. I don't need any 8 Mile raps against me or anything like that. But you can tell how old I am and how I only listen to 80s love songs. Sorry, everybody. What I'm saying is, like, TKO now, because AEW was coming out and saying as of recent weeks and months, we're the affordable alternative, right? Do you think that struck the nerve?
I think that's
TKO?
a problem. I mean, yeah, one, it did, but I still don't think they should position themselves at that. I think their tickets are really reasonable, maybe even a little too reasonable considering how much WWE are priced. So I almost think that Tony should be pricing himself reasonable as compared to not WWE, but other entertainment in general. Like if like the cheapest buying ticket's $40, is $55 too expensive for that kind of thing at this point? Because like there aren't going to be any bad seats if they're only selling 3,000 tickets to a TV show.
I know a lot of times, like minor league baseball back in the day, used to give people package deals. Like, maybe that one ticket will be $55, $60 or pounds or whatever. But if you're bringing 3 other people and it's a 4-ticket bundle, you'll get down to that 40 per ticket. And then, hey, by the way, you get like all 4 people are going to get a soda, a hot dog, or what. You see what I mean? You try to do it. And then that could be another upgraded package deal for food and other stuff. And then, of course, you can get some VIP experiences. That's when people start spaving in a way. They spend more, but they know with that bulk discount, they're saving. TKO goes, man, the more expensive stuff should be even more expensive than the more expensive. How's that for inception?
Well, it's just also the kind of thing is like if you position yourself as the cheaper alternative, people will think you're an inferior product.
Oh, dude, I get that all the time still about the cameos. I get that about the resistance band programs. When I was charging 10, it must suck because it's not expensive. I really do feel like sometimes that might be the only thing keeping WWE selling tickets. It must be good because you're charging a lot of money.
Next up, well, this kind of ties into it. I wanted to ask you, so WrestleMania 43, Tony Khan in the post-show press conference was asked about potentially running against WrestleMania 43, but in the States. So obviously WrestleMania 43 is going to be in Saudi Arabia, and it's kind of leaving a lot of people holding the bag back in the States as far as the conventions that tie to it, all the indies and all the other wrestling-related stuff that wraps itself around WrestleMania every year and has their biggest shows of that year, suckling on the WWE teat, as it were, in that sense. And someone said, well, there's a big gap for you, Tony. Why don't you do something that weekend that, if nothing else, everyone else can, all these ancillary third-party businesses can attach themselves to? It could be a big traveling in kind of show, whatnot. What do you think Tony should do in this respect, then?
Oh, I absolutely feel like he should run head-to-head with WrestleMania 43, which is in Saudi, and do something in the States. A few things definitely positively can come from this. If some of them already have connections for site fees, for cities, all that stuff. But if they can prove running head-to-head with WrestleMania where they're in Saudi and you make that the opposite, you don't black anything out, you make sure the indies all come in, the conventions, you make it an entire week of happenings possibly, you make it your WrestleMania fan access week or weekend, or you extend it as much as you can. And definitely you don't have any competition in the States because all the indies hopefully will be running in the same city or the vicinity. Fans come in, and that would be where, I don't know what pay-per-view that would be. What would that be? Another Double or Nothing, or maybe another All In, All Out, whatever it might be. But it's definitely a great idea because now you basically have WWE thousands of miles away. Not many people are going to travel for that over there, especially with what could still be going on next year. Who knows? So you literally now have you have the entire spotlight of the wrestling industry on you for that particular time in the United States. I'd say go for it and bring out everything you can. Like, Double or Nothing they did with Mick Foley, Edge and Christian winning the tag belts. The performances from, top to bottom were solid, if not even better. Yeah, absolutely, 100% do it. And if you need to do it like close to home, do the show somewhere in Jacksonville or in Florida and have her make then you have people that can also make that trip and say, oh, during that week I can go to Disney, Universal, I can see this, I can, I think the Jaguars are actually moving for 1 year, not this year, but the year after. They're moving to Orlando while the Jacksonville stadium gets renovated. So you can do the show at that stadium.
Orlando would be the perfect spot as well, because you do want that European audience wanting to fly over, and Orlando's like one of the few places that there's loads of direct flights as well. Because I don't know if you're one of those people or were one of those people when you travel more, is if it ain't a direct flight, you really start questioning whether you want to bother.
Oh, no, I will not do connections, much less because of all the issues, and then you're delayed and they have 10 minutes to run 14, like 14 terminals that way. I'm exaggerating, maybe 4, but yeah. And one of my wife's favorite hobbies to do is to watch me run because it's like Steven Seagal levels of bad. But yes, the Orlando area of Florida, if you're going to do it in Florida, and I can't see you doing it anywhere else, obviously, that would be great. Because guess what? Even though wrestling fans converge for indie shows and other things wrestling related, it's still nice to know that, me and my spouse or my entire family can have 100 different things to do outside wrestling and then dip in and out to do that. Yeah, he would be one of the best decisions, in my opinion, that he could make. You're basically running unopposed that week or weekend.
You know what's so weird at the moment with AEW is, like, in certain ways, man, you think, they're kind of heating up a lot. They had a great show. How are they going to build on this? And hopefully they're going to have MJF versus Will Ospreay all in. I can't really see it being anything else at this point that would make that much sense to converge, in August for this big show. But then, so they sold out over 14,000 seats, like 14,400 for Louis Armstrong Stadium for Double or Nothing. Then All In London is really struggling to sell tickets. It's like 22, 23, 24,000. Like 2 years ago, they had over 50,000 sold. But at this point, it's tracking to be a big disappointment. Maybe it's because people are waiting for it to be Will Ospreay announced as the challenger or whatever it might be, the hometown hero thing. But what I'm getting at is they had a great success there. All In's looking to be not a success. But then if they announce something for next year, their version of WrestleMania, whether they move the Double or Nothing or Revolution shows, whatever, to run opposite WrestleMania, will they get enough interest to, would they be able to sell 40,000 tickets? And here's something else. Would they do 2 nights? So they run against WrestleMania both nights?
Yeah, it's a great question about the 2 nights. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I would think they would, because our fans in the United States, and I know that like fans in England have been deserving of WrestleMania for many years. Other countries deserve to have that WrestleMania. And obviously the Saudi thing is all about, it's a sold show, right? They're making hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh yeah, we won't pay the site fee. That's the problem. London, Sadiq Khan will not pay the site fee.
Yeah, I have to see, but I have to say and like I said, I've never run shows or anything like that, but you're literally running unopposed in the entire country. WWE is nowhere unless they try to send like NXT people to work Orlando or have an NXT like TV taping or a big deal or film, whatever. There's no good answer because AEW has an opportunity to do that. And I really feel like they should take advantage of it. Like you said, Orlando would be the best place to do that, to bring people in from everywhere. And do you think is there a little bit of resentment, if not a lot of resentment, that's going to build up from the American wrestling fans that WrestleMania is all the way in Saudi Arabia? And maybe as a statement or just to be spiteful, they will go to the AEW show and check it out just because they need an alternative because TKO seems to be just keep like doing things to make the fans upset and then doubling down to say, yes, but we are getting new fans, better fans than you. Mark Shapiro needs to stop talking. Right.
Who like celebrities more as well.
Yeah.
We need fans who like celebrities
We want
more.
better, we need better people than you coming to our shows. Isn't that essentially what they're kind of saying?
Yeah, they're dictating the tastes, or they're trying to dictate the tastes. And because we were watching the LT match as well, Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow, and the whole celebrity thing back in the 90s, especially when it was so depressed in 95, the business. And that was kind of a big deal back then, but it isn't a big deal now, whether it's Travis Scott or whoever, I don't know, whoever else it might be. The only person who was a big deal at the time was Logan Paul, and now he's just another guy who's injured now as well, so he's going to be gone for months.
Well, it could have been the best thing that ever happened to him. We'll get into that, but he's not special anymore. He's not the special attraction. He's just the worst kiss of death. You're just another wrestler on the show. You don't stand it. He actually lost heat by being part of the Vision. If he stood out on his own and nobody liked him, that would be the heel that I think he could be. But yeah, that's what I'm with Tony Khan, AEW. Definitely run that weekend 2 nights. Very, very interesting. I don't think so because unless AEW puts on like 2 to 3 hour nights, you know what I mean? You said 4 hours, 10 minutes. You do that 2 nights in a row. That's pretty tiresome. And
yeah, if they could do like 3.5 hours each night, maybe, and just do like 7 matches per night. Here's the other thing though, with WrestleMania, I don't think they did it for every single match, but for most of them, and most of their pay-per-views. I don't know about you, but I find it a bit tiresome when every single match is a grudge match going in. So, and this is actually why I really like Double or Nothing, because just before the main MJF Darby Allin main event, which has been brewing really for years, but especially, the last couple of months, is that they just had a giant party match with nothing on the line except for, let's just do a bunch of wacky stuff. And it was almost like a palate cleanser, but not like how you have the Afterthought women's match to cool the crowd down.
Yeah, it felt very much, when they booked that show, I don't know what it is. That's the best part. Sometimes you look at the show and you're like, it works. Everything works. The format, and that's the word I'm looking for, that WWE sometimes putting 2 and 3 tag matches in a row, sometimes putting 2 and 3 women's matches in a row. That just makes everything blend together, gloss over. And like you said about the celebrities, if they're all special, then none of them are special, right? Oh, this is our special this, special that. With AEW, something about Double or Nothing, like when I watched it and watched the matches that I did, I'm like, there's something that now that feels like they've passed some kind of obstacle.
They've got over the hump. Yeah.
Yeah. They feel like they're finding their rhythm with everything. And I say, carry that into WrestleMania 43 season and have your American WrestleMania here and be the baby faces where TKO seemingly are becoming more and more heelish every day towards the wrestling fans.
Also, next year is 2027. So what better way? And I think that TV contract is going to be probably after WrestleMania, like a few months afterwards.
Can I interject one more thing into this? Because Vince did this when he was competing with Starrcade. Didn't he make one of the shows or one of the first things free on TV?
I don't know.
Something he did. He ran right opposite NWA back then. But he made it free.
Yeah. The Royal Rumble, the original Royal Rumble was on TV against one of their shows, and then the Bunkhouse Stampede was killed. I think it was Bunkhouse Stampede. That was killed off. But that's why Clash of the Champions was invented, to run opposite WrestleMania 4 or something, was it?
Yeah, I think they did that. What do you think about this? Just thinking out loud. If you really, really, really want to get in the hearts, minds, and everything positive with the wrestling fans, what if you made that show free on YouTube or just free on TV?
In a weird way, I would think that, like how you make the shows too cheap and then you think it's a cheaper product. I think if you have it on pay-per-view, it ends up being in people's minds, it becomes a more premium product just by virtue of you having to pay for it.
But this is the kind of stuff I hope that they're talking about. How can we really just be the exact opposite of the evil empire, TKO? What can we do? Whether it's some free stuff during the fan stuff or anything, and just trying to give back to the fans and bring people in to say, we are giving you the most amount of value for whatever money you are going to spend here. You know, even doing stuff, maybe if people are going to Disney, have a Disney package and have the AEW wrestlers do a signing and do something in relation to Disney. Just thinking out loud with that, make it so much of a AEW is giving to the fans with this event, where the other ones, they're doing nothing but taking.
Oh, do like WrestleMania Access, their version, but don't charge $100 a day for a ticket.
Maybe don't charge anything. Bring it in, do it at Daly's Palace or Daly's Place. Could be a palace when they do the renovations, or do something. I'm not saying I want them to make money. I obviously there's an opportunity, but you have to have some kind of idea or ideas about just doing the opposite of what WWE is doing right now is enough to stand out, especially financially for the fans.
Okay, Stevie, we didn't know if we were going to talk about this or not. We kind of decided on the morning we would. Ultimately, it was a video that Kevin Nash put out on his YouTube channel, or someone did it for him on his behalf. He was calling yourself a maven, and I guess by virtue me as well, because I was in the thumbnail, for being bottom feeders. And he was comparing us to some AI thumbnail video where someone had taken surreptitious secret footage of Hulk Hogan's funeral. And somehow we're all lumped in together in his mind. I don't know how. The point is that he posted this video. It was the first video in weeks that was doing as good a traction as it was, because I actually looked at all the metrics. And they took it down after less than 24 hours. And the reason, I imagine, is because it was the most ratio dislike video they've ever had. Loads of people were posting on other comments saying how ridiculous what Kevin Nash was saying. It was 99% negative on Kevin on his own video channel, which you, in the comments, which you know you've messed up if like that many people are against you of what you were saying. But ultimately, we were thinking, where's all this come from? Because he initially said something to the effect of, I won't criticize anyone on the podcast unless I would say it to their face. And then he says, then I'd be no better than Stevie Richards and Maven. That kind of thing. And then it was more about you than it was Maven. At least he got an impression of Maven out of him, not for you.
Not as good as your Southern impression. I was quite impressed with that.
Yeah. Give me the belt. Or whatever it is he was doing.
That's Bob Holly.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to start putting you in all my fitness thumbnails because I have a feeling, I'm just saying, you had done an A/B test on your channel and people referred you in the thumbnails. That video might have done well because you were in the thumbnail. So now, Stevie Richards Fitness featuring somehow, some way.
Peanut Shell.
Peanut Shell. Peanut Shell or what's his face.
Yeah. So we have to do with, and what's his face and all these things. But the point is that, you know what basically said. Do you want me to give you the quotes or do you just want to launch in that?
Let's, you can give you some of the quotes on that, you know, because okay. I saw your video, but I did not watch Kevin's video because it was gone by the time I got to it.
Can you believe that Stevie Richards, have you seen his tape that he said about Stephanie's Hall of Fame speech? Okay, so here's the crux of the matter. He's best butt buddies with Triple H, and you're talking about his wife. And I think this is the other thing that I didn't really suggest in my video, is that, of course, Stephanie McMahon's going to be nice to you. You're his best friend's wife. Whereas a lot of other people in WWE, I've heard your stories, Maven's, other people's as well, saying, look, we didn't really like Stephanie as a boss. We didn't think she should have been there, or whatever it was. But take it from there, I guess. Because there's very much an inner circle camp on this position, and then everybody else, it seems.
Hey, well, first of all, I give credit to Kevin for defending his friend and his wife. You and I would do the same. I mean, with this particular, the wrestling stuff, the Hall of Fame speech, and I believe, like, when I said that, I was truly, like somebody who said I take myself too seriously. I laughed throughout most of these segments, at least my recollection. I laugh at the absurdity that Stephanie spoke for almost an hour, or a complete package of everything was an hour, to be more specific and accurate. And even, I told you, Bill Eadie was like my hero because he got the Stevie Richards, James Romero minor little jabbing about like, well, what can I say that's already been said type of thing, remember?
Oh,
I
yeah.
knew what that meant. That was his friendly way of saying we don't have any time. We criticized it objectively and openly with no political affiliation, worried about waiting for the call or anything, not being bitter, not being negative, but exactly. If I can recall, you and I joked about it for a good 15, 20 minutes. Am I off base with that?
Yeah. No, you're not. Sorry. I was just thinking maybe we joked about it for an entire hour with 10-minute video packages.
Well, Demolition came right after us and got 5 minutes at the end of the show.
Yeah, what did we say that was wrong or so offensive? It's like, yeah, it was one giant ego trip from the former boss's daughter and the current chief creative officer of WWE. You can't see it any other way. You can't see Stephanie's position in the company as anything other than nepotism. Whether she was good at it or not, you can't see it any other way. That's how it is. Did she deserve an hour? Absolutely not. Over AJ Styles and Demolition? You kidding me? Of course she didn't.
Don't forget about Sid Vicious.
How could? Well, I did. That's how short the introduction was for him.
Okay, so let's talk about 3 words I think that's going to be the theme of this entire segment of the show. And it goes both ways, and this is where the double standard in wrestling comes in, because essentially what Kevin was saying, and you're going to give more quotes about this, what Vince always said, mostly as a positive if you're a character and the way you present yourself on TV, perception is reality. So the perception of me, I'm well aware of. We're 99 episodes in at the time of this recording. I was well aware of it before we even recorded episode 1. I was well aware of the obstacles that I needed to overcome with the audience to say, who is this guy? He's a nobody. I'm not even going to use the other word, the J word that everybody uses, including Flair. But essentially that's what Kevin Nash was calling me. But he's correct. He's correct about perception is reality. That's his perception of me. That's Triple H's. That's when I worked with the company for 10 years, 9.5 to be exact, their perception of me. I knew what these people thought of me when I worked there. I could tell when I came up with ideas, good or bad or whatever, just trying to be the best person I could be, team member, even somewhat creative with other people and giving ideas and everything. The side eye, the sigh, oh, it's Stevie again. Okay, well, vilify me because I'm just trying to make myself better, everybody around me better. But you look at it as you lost the last 20 matches. Therefore, you can never have a good idea. You can never look at the business the way. Now, maybe in WWE, and I'll be the first to admit this, very passive, tried to get along and not try to cause any waves for the most part. So maybe people construed he's just a guy who comes in, robotically puts people over, doesn't know anything, and then goes home and does nothing. And that's the thing. Get to know a person. That's the other part, right? The criticism on me, and maybe even more on me, is I didn't get to know Stephanie McMahon enough. Is that what it is?
I think at one point, there is the quote there, but I'm going to get through. So he's complaining about the Stephanie McMahon video. And, you're a nobody, that whole kind of thing. You've just said it yourself. You come across as some hack that's trying, it's like prostitution, you're like a click prostitute. Here's the problem, is that basically he's trying to put us at the bottom of the barrel as far as content production because we did a video on Stephanie McMahon. That's it. That's all I can tell. And therefore, his whole perception is reality. Well, if they're negative on Stephanie, therefore they've got to be negative on the entire company all the time. And they're just manufacturing these feelings to get clicks. But the point is that he's obviously never watched more than one video ever. They're always, and I will defend this completely, incredibly informative, incredibly well produced, incredibly well thought out and considered from all sides. I don't think you will ever get another wrestling podcast like this as far as value. And there's 2 things. And I'll get to
Can I
some more
cut you off 1 second?
Yes,
Just
please,
for 1 second. Just hold that thought, please. we try, and we haven't recently, but we're getting back into, and we talked about on the pre-show, to have legitimate production meetings and figure out not only what episode 99 today will be about, but before the end of episode 99, already tell the audience what episode 100 will be. Have production meetings, talk about this. As a matter of fact, unofficial production meetings between all of us about, all right, should we address this? Do you think the audience wants to hear and view this clip from Kevin Nash? Not saying click prostitute or anything, but what would the audience want? Even though my base instinct is just like, okay, Kevin said it. Kevin had some points. I understand the perception of me. I know that's not me, by the way. I take a lot of pride in what I do here. And I'm going to say something that people will think right now for a Stevie Richards quote. This is incredibly arrogant. I'm very good at this. I'm very good at production. You're smiling. You're a proud papa right now. I'm very good at doing this. I take great pride, but also at the same time, you know what I do the other 6 days? And maybe it's a waste of time. I study film. I watch matches incessantly, as much as I can, modern and past. In other words, if I see something on Raw, SmackDown, we're covering AEW again with previous segments we had, I will say, well, that spot's familiar. Let me see if I can. And I say, oh, they took that from Memphis in the 80s and blah, blah, blah. Some of the facts don't even make it to the show, but I need to be ultra prepared, know what I'm talking about, mostly, number one, for the audience, but also my comfort level. Of course, I would love to know what we're going to talk about for 2, 3, maybe 4 hours today, but I take incredible pride in doing this and everything I've done, even with the stuff that was handed to me, and I took it, and I knew it would make me essentially a nobody. The tape on me would not be favorable as time went on. Red wig, dress, all that stuff. So that's the problem with the wrestling business in general, and it's not Kevin specifically. That perception is reality thing. It actually hamstrings the business a lot, don't you think? Because what if, let's take the agents. I'm not going to name names, but as far as I know, a lot of the WWE agents were never main eventers, were never world champions, were never top guys or girls. But I feel like they can offer valuable assistance and coaching to the current talent. With the way people put that, not just Kevin, hey, you're a nobody, you're not a top guy. Or there's people that are agents that never wrestled in WWE, but they still have a value. Adam Pearce never had one match in WWE. He's the GM.
Nick Aldis, Abyss.
I'm not saying, well, look over here at these, but the example, if you want to make a blanket statement about nobodies, and I would love, hey, let Austin, Rock, everybody, Taker's doing an amazing job booking AAA, so it is possible. But you know, my thoughts on this were kind of all over the place in a way, even personally. I know it's more professional, although there were some ad hominem attacks and personal attacks on me. Never had a crossword with Kevin, but I always, and this is where Kevin can counter or do whatever. Listen, there's a lot of stuff I'm dumb about. There's a lot of stuff in wrestling I'm stupid about, but I wasn't dumb enough to know and realize and be aware and feel the energy from a lot of people in that particular group and other people that they thought nothing of me. I was aware of that, but I want to do business. I respect everybody. I love being in the ring with Kevin. I speak highly about that. To have a guy who's 7 foot, 300 pounds, like lighter than a guy that's smaller than me, that's a real talent. And he was really, really good. I'll still contend, and I can separate whatever personal stuff, not really knowing Kevin all that well, by the way, for people. We were never really tight or friends, never got to know each other outside of the borderline of wrestling acquaintances, but always respected them, liked being around them when it came to talking our matches over. The other stuff, I absolutely limited my time and exposure with a lot of people in the locker room because I'm not going to, I learned, there used to be a thing in wrestling where you always seek out the people that like you the least to try to convert them to like you. It's human nature. But then I got to the point where I was just like, I got to stay away from these guys because nothing good comes out of interacting with a lot of them. And that's not Kevin I'm just saying blanket statement. My perception was the reality of what I heard in that clip, by the way. I had my instincts and my suspicions and I had that gut feeling. That's what you think about, man. To some point, what perception is reality? You're absolutely right. I'm a nobody.
Yeah, well, there's because you know I'm going to defend you. You don't have to add anything to it if you don't want to. You might
No,
say,
I know,
you
but
said
I'm
it,
not.
but
But I'm not burying myself either. I'm not. But I understand. I have
you're
a self.
better than him. He barely turned up for half his wrestling matches. He's quasi turned up for these podcasts. He's terrible at it. He was in his own mind and his own and other people's minds as well. He was a big star, and he does so much worse than us because I guess he just thinks he deserves it. I don't know, but that's the point. But I want to just get to the point you said before, with you know, you weren't ever anybody, and that, okay, one, you were hired for 30 years in every wrestling promotion, pretty much going at the time. Two, could you sound like a bigger mark who doesn't, and apparently he's a clever guy, so people tell me. But could there be a bigger mark in the wrestling industry than Kevin Nash, where he genuinely thinks because he was born to grow very tall and had a lot of things handed to him because of his size, that therefore he is much better, or therefore his opinion or status should mean more than you? Because it's not like acting or something. I mean, like, you know, you're top of the bill and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean you're the better actor. It may mean that you're just the more marketable actor. You know what I mean? And then people who've been acting for 30 years and getting reliable work and in demand for so long as you were, does that mean you're a worse actor? Does that mean you've got nothing to offer? It's a completely moronic kind of stance. And it makes you seem like a complete mark for yourself. That's the point.
Okay, well, here's the problem with this, and it's not a Kevin Nash problem. It's a wrestling problem. It's an office problem. It's a creative problem where that comes. It's Tony Gray. It's one of our first quotes from one of our first episodes. Hey, you want to have won a match in months? That is exactly the way they think. As if the second that board is erased that circled the other guy's name, it becomes real. It becomes real. The only time it was ever truly fake and they knew it was fake was each and every one of my title reigns. Ha! There you go.
But that's the old line. It's like all the matches I won were real, but all the ones I lost were fake, man.
I'm the opposite. I do the opposite with that. But think about my career too. This is something that it's quite fascinating. There was that time in the late 90s, but by the way, I do owe Kevin Nash something because Big Stevie Cole, the BWO, without the NWO and Big Daddy Cole, wouldn't be that way, you know? And I do recognize all that. Maybe that's somewhat of where I don't fit into the space. Because once again, I don't fit into this wrestling space. Just like I didn't fit into it during my career or just about anything else.
But that's the point. That's the point, though. You are not in the wrestling space. You're in the content creator space. He thinks he's in the wrestling space still, which he's not. We're in the content creating space that is related to pro wrestling. You see what I mean?
Yeah, and I love that. I love doing the production. I love making this. I strive to make this broadcast quality, and without the suit, obviously. I've been trying to get one, by the way. I want to dress up a little bit.
What do you mean trying to get one? Just go to any show. Just go to any store.
What, return it like your buddy did on the pre-show?
Yeah, one of my friends had a job interview. He bought a suit and then took it back the same day as soon as he had the interview. Brilliant.
I'll go back to Costco or Hager Outlet. I'm like, oh, you must just got done recording the episode.
We just go there every week.
See you next Monday. So, but what I'm saying is the interesting thought about my career is, and think about this, in the mid to late 90s, people looked at me as having a ton of potential, as looking at me like, wow, this guy's going to be somebody. And then, of course, other things happen. I make bad decisions personally, professionally, during my next stuff and everything. That carried me around for a little while. And then the right to censor happened. But of course, I was in the worst physical shape of my life and couldn't physically perform up to the spot. Then I got myself into shape, did all that, and really never got another opportunity in the business. But that label stuck with me. And you know what I did? I played it safe. I absolutely played it safe. And I wanted a job. I wanted to be reliable. I wanted to serve others, which is exactly the wrong thing to do in wrestling. is try to work with everybody and get everybody to want to work with you. But that worked for me in ECW. I know we're off on a bit of a tangent, but I want to give people the full scope of all this because that is what sticks with me to today. And that's completely fine because that's what wrestling does. It makes you believe. But in the content creation space where I can give my opinion, and I told you, I hoped and prayed for years, give me the opportunity to really do what I can do and succeed or fail on my own. And this is where you, Chris, and Chris come in. Surround me with people that can accentuate my strengths and hide my weaknesses, just like Paul Heyman back in ECW. And now we're here. And we got to a point, I feel like we got to the point now where we didn't know if we were on the radar or not. Now it looks like over the past few months, we're kind of getting on the radar. And that this comes along with it. God, you're smiling.
Do you know what the funny thing was? And I think I said this on the other video as well, is that more than one person said, God, if we refer to this, are we punching down? I was like, yeah, we are. We are punching down. And that's why I think it's actually not. It's someone who was trying to, and we'll get to the Maven thing in a second. It's someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, because apparently they definitely watched my video, and I know for a fact they did, because they reference something 25 minutes into a 30-minute video, so you know they watched it all. But he's got no perception of what we do here. He just sees one video, tars everything with the same brush. You know, no nuance, no nothing. It's like, I'm going to just complain about it for no reason, be a complete hypocrite at the same time by saying, I wouldn't say this about anyone, blah, blah, bury anyone on this podcast, I wouldn't say to their face. And then immediately goes into you and Maven, and it's like, oh, apparently, well, you know better than us then, according to your own words just then that you said 5 seconds ago. I will get to the clips again, but like this...
By the way, I know Kevin would say it to my face, and I'm totally fine with that. And I would either rebut with certain things or challenge a little bit and say, well, what did I say that was wrong or inaccurate in the video? That's what I would stick to.
Yeah, give me a quote.
But it would still be the other part of, no, we're not worried about the actual substance or a logical debate about this. You're a nobody. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then we'd agree to disagree or agree to agree, and with perception is reality, and then just go about our day.
You just say, well, I'm a nobody with 6 times the amount of views
he can get the last word in. If that's what makes everybody in the wrestling business feel better, you got the last word in, you dunked on me or you owned us or whatever, that's cool. I'm just here to try to put out the best stuff that I can along with you, Chris and Chris, be objective. And guess what? When I'm not objective, what's the first thing I say? I have a bias. I have a bias. I have a bias for the Motor City Machine Guns. I have a bias for LA City, Philly accent. The Motor City.
Voluntary.
Oh, it sounded like bleep it out.
No, I don't think we could. The other thing is that apparently, like, it's part of a rebuttal. It wasn't a rebuttal because, honestly, I made a 30-minute video that I guess they couldn't respond to any of it because there's nothing to respond to there, just basically the facts. But they mentioned one thing like 25 minutes in that I said, and I said, look, here is the long and short of, we do some negative stuff, we do, and that's just the case.
Can I say something real quick again? I don't want to keep interrupting you. Just hold the thought again, please. The way we're presenting it is we're very transparent about this stuff, but we have our personal feelings about what we want to do, but we don't give up on that. Like I said, objectivity is the mission statement, along with trying to bring awareness of the art and how hard it is to do, and that these talents, like, we're talent friendly too. We're not office friendly. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't know where I was going with that. Where was it? Oh, yeah.
No,
so
the
I
Trish
mentioned
Stratus clip.
Yeah, the Trish Stratus video that Kevin Nash in 1 minute managed to get entirely wrong, like opposite of what the meaning was. And I said, look, we had a Trish Stratus video out, and we said, wouldn't it be great if we did an entire episode on Trish or maybe the women of WWE? And then we put the clip out, and then it ended up being a joke between us where we kept saying, boy, that video did terribly. Well, I guess we can't do that anymore. We're still going to do that full episode at some point, the women of WWE 2002, 2003, because we want to talk about more like Trish, Lita, Victoria. But the reason that I said that is because at some point, common sense also has to enter, because this is a business ultimately. Like, we can't just talk about stuff that we have a good idea that will never get views to I guess, placate a very small section of the audience. And I'm not saying it's got to be positive, negative, indifferent. I'm saying, well, that didn't work. I guess we kind of put a pin in that for now and move on to something else. And I'm not saying what we really need is another Triple H burial video.
Come on, Ric Flair, do something.
We did say
Ric
that.
Flair.
We did say that.
We did say that.
In fairness.
Well, we're just saying that because it is
he took the complete wrong
time.
lesson. He was like, oh, we deleted that video because it was too positive. It's like, no, we kept the video up, obviously.
No, his quote was, we decided to do a hit piece.
Oh, my God. How can somebody...
Was I wrong with that? I think we watched just
That is what he said, wasn't it?
It ended, so they decided to delete that and do a hit piece, or cancel that and cancel the full episode or the follow-up and do a hit piece.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what he said, wasn't it? It almost beggars belief how someone supposedly really clever in the business can miss the entire point. I don't get it.
Well, maybe it's this. Once again, the 3 words, perception is reality. What's the, I hate to bring the Arn Anderson quote up with the Chris Masters. It's only Stevie. So whenever I say anything, it's either going to be, can you believe what he said about Stephanie? That'll get the antennas up, but nothing else resonates because it's just Stevie. I'm sure that's what it is. Why bother paying attention to him? Well, because I watch plenty of stuff, and you do too, that we would never do in our personal time, but we do it for the show.
Okay, so those two come to mind. This is you and Maven, because it's just there on YouTube, and it's always there. And it's like, yeah, it's always there because we're really good at what we do. Oliver, Sean Oliver, there's salacious clips I thought set up to titillate. Once again, that is coming from the guy who interviews drunk wrestlers, and like Marty Jannetty and Sonny and Jamie Dundee and stuff like that, and doing the hoe bag and the D bag and stuff like that. It's like, I'm sorry, that criticism don't wash with me when you're the guy known as that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and by the way, Danny Doring had Sean Oliver put me in that bag because I shouted at some guy on the beach in Wildwood, P90X, you should try it. He said, I love you. Yeah, my unbooked catering tag team partner, Danny Doring.
We can talk about other stuff, but it's like Steph, like she was from where her headspace was when I talked to her before she went out there. This is with the WWE Hall of Fame out there with her kids and her. I mean, she held it together and she cut a heel promo at the end of the thing. She basically said, follow this, and nobody did. Yeah, because she took up all the time. You'd have to know Steph. You could just tell when somebody, their whole life, that person walked by them and they just prayed that Stephanie didn't say, Stevie. I was like, yeah, that's true. I'm sure on your behalf, I bet you were hoping Stephanie didn't say Stevie.
Well, I mean, I still interacted with her. There was still some creative stuff. There was things she was involved with on pre-tapes. It wasn't like I was hiding. Now, trust me, I was hiding in the concourse playing Dreamcast and original Xbox up in the luxury boxes, but I wasn't just hiding from her. It was everybody. But yeah, that's the whole thing. I'm not afraid to talk to somebody about business or what they need or be available. Why did I move to Connecticut? Did I move to Connecticut to avoid the office? I'm not very smart, but yeah. But how do you get to know these people personally? You don't, because you know why? Your value as a human being, the value of what you say, the value of you just standing in front of them is based upon your push. They will never say, wow, the only time she ever had an interaction with me concerning anything creative is when she ended Stevie Night Heat and then came back 2 months later with the amazing idea that I've never heard before in my life about Stevie Night Heat.
So to me, quote, it just shows your lack of credibility that you're not friends with Stephanie McMahon. Anyway, that's pretty much the basis of it all. And then he launched in how to make a blade, how to cut yourself.
Oh, I was hoping you would do that. I was hoping you would.
But the thing is, he's lumping Maven in as well. It's like Maven is pretty positive, I'm pretty sure, in his content. Just goes to show he doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, is Maven pivoted over time? Most likely. And do you know why? Because there's not a bottomless well of ideas that doesn't kind of in some way revolve around you reacting to something in wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And Maven's actually transcended it to a small, I hope he does it in a huge way and moves on to the mainstream. But he's interviewed Jake Palmer, former football player. He interviewed a baseball player. And of course, I think the thing that everybody thinks pivoted was all the stuff with PJ and everything. And then, of course, He did the thing with Bagwell and the amputation, and he's done. The thing with that is he and Zach, just like you and I need to be lumped together because we're a team. Chris and Chris, I couldn't do this without you guys. Maven and Zach fly to different places, rent Airbnbs. They organize a queue of interviews and other things that they're doing. As a matter of fact, he might come to Florida. When you come to Florida, and all of us, hey, you're in Florida and you're in Florida. You should film some videos. I'm going to go to Cocoa Beach and interview Tony Garea. That's the one I asked. That's why Maven has he with me. He will not interview Tony Garea.
Oh, have you asked him?
Of course, I'm going to again.
Dude,
but that's
dude,
the thing.
invite him.
What's that?
Invite him to our show. Like, he could be our first ever guest.
And last ever, because I'm a terrible interviewer. I'm a terrible host. But, and that's me putting myself down. That's me being self-aware of my short. And I know from watching you, especially after that interview from WrestleMania 40, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. But Maven, like, getting back to Maven, maybe that's the other thing too, that some of the more, like, man on the street stuff, but also some controversial stuff with PJ and other things could put him in the category of negative sometimes. But they got the most amount of views. So what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we wrestled with the same thing? It's like, we don't want to be burying people too much. We want to, whatever. And put it this way, nothing we're doing the last couple of weeks is working because it's May, it's post-WrestleMania. The views suck across the board. It's just how it is. So we just fight through this for a couple of months and then we build back up again. It happens every year. I've done it 10 years in a row. I know the patterns. But it's like, man, I don't think you can find anybody who is more conscious of that as well than us.
Well, we have legitimate meetings. We message all the time. It's not just that morning, what are we going to talk about? But we try to be as organized and run this like a business, run it like a brand. And also, there's time. How many times have you come to me, and not with any kind of intention or anything, but you go, let's talk about this. This is really maybe not controversial, but that type of video where, and I'm saying, no, I'm not going to do that. And we don't do it. But we also, I defer to you sometimes on the business end because you understand the SEO, you understand the click rate, what works. You do all the A/B testing on the thumbnails, which, by the way, that's why you should be in every thumbnail. But we do it. We just take a great deal of pride and care. But also, I want to be. It's probably too late for some. My thing would have been somebody to show that the art of professional wrestling is very difficult and it needs to be honored and it needs to be appreciated.
Anything else? I think the other thing was like, oh, it's clickbait, our stuff. And it's like, no, it's not clickbait because there's pejorative clickbait and then there's good clickbait. And I think we do the good stuff because I was looking through our videos recently and I'm responsible for them. And it's like, I tell you exactly what you're going to see in the video. And if I don't, I make it so non-specific. Like, very rarely I'll make a video so non-specific that you have to click it anyway. But I think the argument
like your apologies where you're holding up the Great Gatsby martini glass.
I wanted to do that so much closer to the camera, but then like it was fuzzing out my face and it wasn't the same. Anyway, I put a shirt on for that and everything. But the point is that they're saying, well, that's the reason, and it's not going to last. It's not going to last what they're doing. It's like, Maven's having his best months ever. May's going to be a bit rubbish, but we're having our best months ever, and we've been doing it 2 years now. Maven's been doing it 3 years, I think, or something like that. And click this as views are going down. So who are you to tell me, or Stevie, or anybody else, that they're the clickbait when you don't know what the term means, in its, I guess, in its pejorative form, and two, who are you to tell us that we're doing wrong or that it's going to fall apart? Nothing lasts forever, but we're doing very well. I'm very pleased with it. So
yeah,
just a bunch of statements based on absolutely nothing adjacent to reality.
Well, I think the difference, I'll get to that in a second, but also how many times I badger you and Chris all the time. How many times am I saying, we got what went wrong, what went right? Can we create another segment? Can we have a tighter format? Can we create something where we can evolve the show? I'm scouting locations for the opening of episode 100. I'm trying to sneak into the Florida Gator Stadium to do, but I want to make it special. I never had the creative output to make something like out of a concept, out of my imagination. Maybe sometimes it's, hey, it'd be cool, but guess what? That fulfills me to do that, to produce something. The They Live classes scene, it was one of it's like the most fun that I had creating a video in a very, very long time. You know that, how excited I got. But then again, at the same time, like, yeah, we're always trying to evolve. We're not just sitting there. We were very aware. You and I both were like, no StreamYard. Now with both of us on there, I want the highest quality. I can't wait for YouTube to go to 8K so I can buy one of those cameras. You can see the behind the scenes tour. I love producing content, creating content. And the thing with, I'll give you a little bit of an analogy from the wrestling business to now. The thing that a lot of people are realizing who were in the wrestling business, and I'm not saying it's Kevin, they could say whatever they want in the locker room. They could say whatever they want backstage or to another fellow like talent or any of that. And the talent has to go and do the formula thing, that overlay with the formula and think and calculate. Okay, if I say something back because that's disrespectful or that person's insulting me, they're going to go to the office, they're going to go to Vince, they're going to go here, and I'm completely buried. So therefore, I cannot counter with any kind of logic or turn back and say, well, you're this, this, and this. How about that? Now we're even. My career is dead. So in this space with content creation, like a Flair and other people, they're not used to anybody just coming back, like you especially, because you never wrestled. So you don't have two eyes and ears and see a pattern with someone's behavior. The problem is the wrestling bubble versus the real world. I'm more a part of the real world completely, actually, because I'm not one of them. I never have been. How many episodes ago, the Right to Censor episode with Godfather, right? I'm not one of you. I never will be. I don't fit in, and I'm completely fine with that. I'm on the other end of that. That's what they're expecting you because you're a mark or a fan. I'm a nobody. Baben's a nobody. Therefore, when I say this, they aren't going to say it because instinctively it's like, you're never going to work in WWE if you open your mouth. Challenge accepted.
Yeah, dude, you get those text messages a lot. Like,
What's
what was
that?
the last thing you said where someone or people started texting saying, you're never getting booked again?
Oh, Swinger always texts me that. You're never getting booked again.
Right then, let's move on to the video analysis segment. There's going to be quite a few this week because there were a couple of what went wrongs, a couple of what went right, a couple of confusing things as well, especially injuries and how they actually happened, because I was a bit confused watching them live. But first off, we're going to go to AEW. Darby Allin, he did a dive that went terribly wrong in the immediate, and then there was a coffin drop on the stage as well that seemed to go perfectly and then somehow didn't as well. So please, Stevie, over to you. What went wrong?
Well, thank you very much, James. I've never heard, and I probably never will hear again, a coffin drop to the edge of the apron that went perfectly. Okay.
No. That's off the stage,
that's
the one that went perfectly through the table.
Oh, no, that was amazing. That's actually, I'd love for that to be a what went right. That was, my favorite part of that? The bang, bang. And then did it. In the camera angle, I know we're talking about this thing. The camera angle on that, dude, somebody is a wrestling historian in production, direction, or the cameraman. It was a 1-to-1. I watched it. I watched the clip. It was a 1-to-1 camera angle of Mick jumping off the roof. Exactly. That's amazing.
Dude, do you know that Mick, I know this is about Darby, and I reckon he may have even suggested that because he was telling the cameraman to do that when he was dropping the elbow as Cactus Jack in WCW in the early days, because he did video production and he was better at the angles, I think, than most. Maybe he was doing this in Dallas, like USWA or whatever it was called at the time,
where he had it from the floor and he was jumping off the apron and make it look like he was coming down.
Yeah,
higher.
Kind of like almost like you're coming in, I'm coming into your living room from that angle. Yeah.
Yes. All right, let's take a look at this. But I give him credit for that. And it was safe, perfectly executed. And that's after all these, right? That's after this dive and the coffin drop. All right, let's take a look at this. Yeah, that's definitely. Now, what I would say right there, what I would say, this is one of those bumps. Now it's on the floor, by the way, it's not in the ring, but that's one of those bumps that you take. He grabs his head to sell. But then again, I like the fact he grabbed his head. You know why? Most importantly, I'm assuming he's okay because he sells. Because if you take that kind of bump and you're like numb or you get the stinger or you're really hurt, your body just kind of tenses up. And, kind of like Lawrence Taylor, when he was selling, he just kind of froze. But with this, I can tell that he was selling. I would say this. The weirdest thing is when you land like this on bumps, it doesn't hurt at all. Then you'll like roll your ankle towards the corner on a turnbuckle and you'll be out for 9 months. So it is an ugly bump, but I'd have to say, they're saying he caught the ankles up here, which I can see, but you know what's weird? I'm thinking he did it on purpose because he's still on an angle to come down this way. Like if they caught, he would take a face bump straight down. So I'm thinking that Darby did this on purpose. And if you're like, how can anybody do that on purpose? And I would say, have you watched Darby Allin and what he volunteers to do? Just amazing.
I've got a follow-up question here. What percentage of people who, in your experience, would, let's say that actually went wrong, let's say that wasn't on purpose, has a really bad landing, like Io Sky did a few weeks ago. In fact, 2 weeks in a row she did. What percentage of people do you find when something goes wrong, they immediately jump up to kind of prove that they're not hurt instead of like, staying down and selling the messed up move, I guess?
Well, there's a few different ways. If it involves another person, you always see, and I've done this too, you see the person crawl right over and kind of like head to head talking in their ear, you okay? Or the referee goes down to where they're in that LT position where face down, and then the ref or somebody covers them and talks in their ear. But I have seen people not jump up off of that, like, hey, I'm okay. Like if someone falls and breaks the coffee table at a party. But nobody really pops up off of, I fell and I meant to do that, right? Kind of thing. They're more like, and not like the Peter Griffin where he grabs the knee going, for like 5 minutes. But what happens is the person's body language, you kind of got to know what you're looking for. For me, underselling when you're hurt is what says you're hurt. Like basically just laying there looking up without like that grimace on your face, you know what I mean? Where you grit your teeth, where you want to be seen, or if they don't find the camera and they're just there and the gears just go to a complete stop. That's how I know people are hurt. Dude, you got to give it, like I said during the LT thing, he probably had so much of a new appreciation for what, and that was just a basic match with Bam Bam Bigelow. People who don't do it, who come into wrestling thinking, yeah, this is going to be easy. We're just going to land on a mattress and it's going to be fun and I don't have to be in shape. They learned that lesson really, really quick. But getting back to Darby here, I mean, saying he's about the toughest dude I've ever seen, I would say he has the highest pain tolerance out of mostly anybody I've ever seen, but he's definitely a tough guy. I just hope that he has some like unicorn genetics that he will come out of this probably 100% healthy when we're all like with back braces and all that stuff in our 50s.
Yeah, do you think he's just able to absorb these moves a lot more than most because he's so skinny? He just doesn't have that weight. And also maybe it's because he's a skateboarder since I guess he was a young kid. His body's just used to falling over and landing on hard things constantly.
Yeah, that's a good point. What's harder to land on, this particular tight wrestling mat or like a half-pipe concrete on the edge of it? I think he's been really, really prepared to take these bumps. I don't know. Like I say all the time, I want everybody to come out as healthier than they went into it, which is impossible, but have most of your health, have a ton of money, and never, ever have to work again. And Darby fits into that category. I feel bad for him because there was a lot of people that came out when he won the world title, and it didn't really resonate like it should have as far as the ultimate underdog that took so much of it. There was a lot of, like Mick said in the pre-show, there are a lot of similarities between Darby and Mick. And I love the fact they put them together in that buy-in thing with both of them. And then it was called back and it was kind of put a cherry on top when he did the jump basically off the roof like Mick did and dropped the elbow on the MJF. Really great stuff.
Just a quick question. What's MJF doing when he's diving over? Is he just making it seem like he's causing the flip, basically? Because I don't think he gets anywhere near him. Well, no, he gets under his arm, doesn't he?
This lends me to believe that Darby was supposed to take a front bump and land on his back. But there didn't look like there was any room to do that. Look, if he took a front bump, his legs would have landed there. Maybe that's what he had planned and then bounced this way. But it looks like a left-handed, hip toss type move where you're sidestepping and you're trying to flip him. But you know what? Without him doing that, you might say, well, it doesn't make a difference. But I like that MJF looks like he caused Darby Allin to land on his head. Like the credit goes to MJF for throwing him like that, which is kind of what you want. Oh, wow.
That's like the Money in the Bank.
On this. See, it doesn't look as bad there, but it is bad. But you see what I mean? When he lands, it looks like an upper back bump. He landed right on his traps. And when you land with basically your legs this way and your head that way, you could break your neck pretty easily. The only thing with this too is he's tucked in this direction. If it was sideways, that's when you got to worry about a really severe neck break. That looked really good though.
Okay, then. So the other thing that looked really, really good from Darby Allin was indeed the final coffin drop from the staging of the entranceway for Double or Nothing onto MJF. And I submit to you, this is definitely what went right, because this has gone really wrong, but somehow he ends up with a cut on the back of his head. And I've got a theory about it that I'll advance to you at the end. But after you, what went right?
First thing that went right was this camera angle. I can't speak enough about this. What an amazing, 1-to-1 ratio. What a callback. What a way to button it up, have Nick there. You got to say they did everything really, really well, if not perfectly, when it came to Double or Nothing. So, yeah, he's up here. And they said 20 feet. And I know 20 feet is 2 stories. But, man, it looks a lot higher. And it must look even higher when you're the guy standing up there. But let's take a look at this. I like that MJF has the arms out. And I'm sure he'll bring them in last second. To me, that's always you're not just laying there waiting for it. Really nice touch.
Well, that sort of lends to that sort of lends to being very, very comfortable as well, does it not? That you're not really tensed up from the off.
I don't know. Even if it was somebody I really liked and I was close with, I'd be pretty tensed up. Maybe his toes are curled, but yeah, bang, bang. And that got a huge pop. By the way, too, he's up there in a sea of people, in the bleachers, in the stands. It's so awesome. Oh, man. Like a half an elbow coffin drop. This is the part here, too. If I was Darby, he's trying to shuffle his feet to get in the position. Watch it in slow-mo. Okay, I got to make sure I'm on the edge. Nothing left to chance, and here's the bump.
Do you know what that reminds me of? Is Shane McMahon. I mean, it's kind of different, obviously, because he landed a bigger crash.
Steve Blackman one?
There were loads. The Hell in a Cell, the Steve Blackman one.
Test. In a test, and Steve Blackman. Steve Blackman was the kendo stick back bump, missed the plunge. Test was the elbow, correct? Now, where do you think he got? I think he had to get cut open. He grabbed his head right there. Oh, there he is. Do you think he hit the edge of the table? There's that plastic edge thing that goes around, and then there's the wood. That's how Bob Holly gashed his back on that. Do you think that's what he got
Well, I
cut
was going to
on?
ask you that, but I also had a theory: do you think it's possible that he wasn't cut, and when the referee sort of like went over to him, it's kind of fake blood? And the only reason I say that, it probably wasn't, but the only reason I say that is because straight afterwards there is a Scorpion Deathlock applied by Darby Allin to MJF, and he lets it go because he passes out, or is too weak to hold on to it. So I was wondering, is that kind of part of the story where it's just only in his hair, and it kind of lends more
Do you think it's like
credence?
a Steve Austin? Do you think it's like a Steve Austin
Kind
Bret
of,
Hart WrestleMania
kind of.
13?
It's probably not, but I thought it was interesting as an alternative explanation. It doesn't look like he cuts himself on anything, really.
Well, here's the thing, though. Well, he has a little mark right there, too. I don't know what
That might
that's
just be from
from.
his face
See
paint.
it? Maybe. Here's the thing. If we were going for that and saying there's so much blood that he passed out, did he bleed a lot more than this? I don't
No, he
recall.
doesn't.
The Austin thing was just like a bite. Now, if they were hoping that the red become his blonde hair would become red and he would pass out from that, but it's never going to be visual here unless it bleeds all the way to the front. So I think this is the part here. This little like edge is where Bob got cut, and it's the wood edge, but then that plastic where it kind of gets inserted to kind of seal off around the whole table. That's very sharp. When I took the table from the Dudleys when I started to write the censor, I carried a table away and cut the inside of all my fingers. Not bad, but like more than a paper cut because I was carrying it sideways and that was so sharp. Just a little bit of the shuffle of my hands going up the ramp with it cut both my hands.
As I say, it's probably just happenstance. It kind of just enhanced the Scorpion Deathlock. You know what I mean? So I think it's probably
Yeah.
just happenstance, and it just added to the match. And more specifically, because New York State Athletic Commission told that they couldn't bleed or brawl in the crowd either. So he was either,
He landed perfect on MJF,
yeah.
by the way. That's hard, man. You got to look when he's up top here, looking down. It looks like it's kind of like he's so close to where all he has to do is fall on him. No, Darby's coming down at like, what would you say, about a between a 25 to 35-degree angle, like down this
Do you
way?
know what's,
You
do you
can
know what's
over.
interesting about that is that he doesn't take his eyes off MJF, where I think most people, if they were talked into doing that, they would look and then do the trust fall kind of thing and not look backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't look back until he just tucks in to take the bump. Look, he's right there. I think Darby's so smart. I mean, he's really close to his chin and throat area, but look at his right arm. Watch this right arm. That's his kind of gauging where he's going to land before he lands. You notice that? You don't want to do that like coffin drop. He just takes the bump, but to make sure he touches MJF to make sure he can brace and land. I think that's a great little nuanced, and he still almost overshot him because of the angle. The table bump goes away from it. Great job, great match.
Okay, then we're going to move on to WWE. Logan Paul apparently received a triceps tear. We did not know this until Monday Night Raw, yesterday as we record this, this past Monday, obviously, for everybody there who was watching this. Now, we don't think it's a storyline, but it was announced by WWE, so you've always got to be careful of these kinds of things. But man, this vision curse is real. Danhausen's behind it, he must be. But if you could bring up the video then, Stevie, and let us know. This is from Saturday night's main event. Logan Paul and Austin Theory versus the Street Profits. Pretty much the last move of the match as well. A dive from Angelo Dawkins to Logan Paul. I don't think I've ever seen an injury like this. Stevie, what happened?
Well, my quick answer as we look at this, as I watched it before, is I kind of have no idea. Let's see. Oh, I know where it happened. When he comes down here, watch his left elbow. Is it the left tricep?
Don't know.
Right there. Because when you land like this, it's either going to be you pop your shoulder out, you tear your rotator cuff, or you tear your bicep or tricep. This is where it is right here. Because look at the way he grabs his elbow. He tore his tricep right there. The Angelo Dawkins landing, the force is coming down here, which isn't a big deal. Like, it's not Angelo Dawkins' fault at all. He landed perfectly on the right shoulder. Remember, I talked about Cody Hall, Scott's kid. Young Bucks landed right on top of his head with something like this and broke his neck. So he's literally where he needs to be. That's perfect. But watch how this slow-mo here. Boom. He immediately grabs that elbow. He tore his tricep right there. The impact of, and I would do the same thing, by the way. I would brace right there, but the tricep just popped right there. I'll see if we can see it pop. Blur it out if it's too much. Can't really see. You know, sometimes, is that more of a bicep thing? That when you tear your bicep, it rolls up towards the shoulder?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, have you seen any of those ones where people are doing preacher curl and they're doing too heavy? Yeah.
Yep. People have torn their biceps and pecs at the same time doing bench press. It's very strange.
So this could end up seeing Logan Paul out for quite a few months. I'm going to go with the Vision curse and give you every single example. Seth Rollins created the Vision, I guess, with Paul Heyman. He got injured October 31st. It was the shoulder injury after he did the coast-to-coast on Cody Rhodes. Number 2, second to join, was Bron Breakker. He was injured February 26th. He ended up having a hernia. Bronson Reed, he got injured February 23rd, 2026. Biceps tear. Logan Paul is now injured with Saturday night's main event. The Angelo Dawkins thing. When's it going to happen for Austin Theory at this rate?
I just kept doing this.
Yeah, I know. It was really off-putting as well.
When's it going to happen? I hope never, but if you were betting on futures or the poly markets or whatever, it would, we'd have to lean towards Austin Theory. How soon till Paul Heyman's injured? I mean, he's the only one left. But man, it's just this here though is the Seth Rollins thing was putting that hand down, and here Logan Paul is just trying to catch Angelo Dawkins without catching him. You know what I mean? I would say probably the safer version would have been to have the other Street Profit do the one where he does Montez Ford, where he lands on his feet on the other side of the ring. Remember that?
Yeah, corner to corner.
He flips over the guy's shoulder and does it. And this here, it's just an unfortunate thing. I mean, sometimes in WWE too, you can tear ligaments and tendons and muscles a lot easier, especially during WrestleMania season.
Okay, then. So was there anything either could have realistically done to make this, fail safe, really? Or is it always just an inherent risk with this kind of flip over the top rope?
It's inherent risk. I give Logan Paul a lot of credit because he's catching Angelo Dawkins in a way where his body's blocking him, protecting him, but he's not looking like I'm catching you, and that maybe he should have did that. You know what I mean? But also, it's also the table is over in this direction. We don't have all the room that we have on the opposite side. And I don't know if Angelo Dawkins can just land on his feet like Montez Ford could. I mean, it's impressive just to do a dive like this. No, if you want a definitive answer, no, I don't think anything could have been done outside of not doing the move. But he could be carrying around a partially injured triceps or a partial tear that he didn't know about, and this just popped it. It could have been just a nagging injury that finally just gave out.
So I wanted to go on something that was what went right on the same show. We're going to keep it all in the body of the same clip, and this is going to be Bron Breakker. This was part of the same match. It was like, 30 seconds, a minute beforehand, something like that. Bron Breakker tries to do a run-in during the same match, and he takes one of the most incredible landings over the announce table onto the announce chairs as well. Have you seen this, Stevie?
I have not seen it yet.
Okay, then play it through.
I have not seen it. All I know is that if I saw this, then I would be on the other side of the railing. All right, let's take a look. Out of my way, Stu. Out of my way, Mike Garm. Out of my way, everybody. I love that. Oh, that's a cool shirt. Johnny Canine might not like it, but
Yeah, Bruiser Bedlam.
yeah.
Right.
500 plus trans. I know he's not around. I know that. Okay.
He's not going to blow up your house.
Also
don't
tried
worry.
I also tried to blow up a police station. Let's not forget about that. Whoa. Wow. So that was kind of like a pounce by Angelo Dawkins, right? Except Angelo Dawkins wasn't running, where you just kind of give him the load like the D-Lo Sky High. Man, the Street Profits are so good. Why they cooled them down and then obviously injury and other stuff, but those guys should be on every episode. Really well
There
done.
is a replay of this as well.
Oh, here's a what do you say? And he was not. He didn't slow down one bit.
Keep in mind, there's a
He just
leapfrog
ran and
first.
Yeah. Well, you know what's incredibly tough about this? This is why, like, you need real tag teams in wrestling. Because in theory, you can go over stuff, but Ford and Dawkins, especially these two, I know Braun Breaker probably understands the distance to give Braun Breaker enough time with the leapfrog over and then Angelo Dawkins doing the Sky High. In other words, look, they know exactly how much distance is needed for this, and also to give Braun Breaker a few steps to make it look like he didn't slow down at all, which I don't think he did. And then to kind of take this. My goodness. Man, I wouldn't do that, though. I know it's tough not to. You see his right arm trying to break the fall. That's exactly what happened to Seth. No would have been even more awesome if he just landed it and sitting in the chair. Wouldn't that have been incredible?
Oh, what if he landed on Michael Cole?
Where's Michael
No,
Cole?
unfortunately, got out of the way way earlier.
There goes Wade. I'm going to let everybody know something. These armrests hurt like heck. They're the worst. These office chairs with the rubber, because there's the hard rubber underneath or hard plastic underneath it. They don't give. It just like stabs you in the arm, and he got his elbow and tricep right there. That guy likes it.
He's enjoying the show.
Enjoy the show.
Okay, then. So we've done almost 3 what went right and what went wrong. But now we've got to end in a what went wrong. And it is Sol Ruca. Now, it just seems that since she's been on the main roster, it's just been a ton of what went wrongs. And I don't know if it's the pressure. The booking certainly hasn't helped her as well, but she's messed up a few of the soul snatchers, and I don't know if the pressure's getting to her or whatever, but she's really marketable. And I'm sure, we all hope she, really does well on the main roster, obviously. This was her debut against Liv Morgan. Now, this Soul Snatcher goes well, but look what Liv Morgan does. Over to you, Stevie.
All right. Thank you, James. I do have some commentary and some analysis outside of the smartboard to talk about what it could be like and what I've seen a pattern with people that come up from NXT or go from working a very controlled environment, a very controlled, maybe not as heavy schedule, and of course pressure, as you said, and that adjustment period for those talents to go to the main roster. But let's take a look at this. Yeah, we talked about that rolling out thing right there. That's more of who booked the finish and who was like, and what I'm thinking is maybe they intended for Liv to bounce out of this and be this direction near these ropes. You know what I mean? She rolled almost all the way across the ring. Like if she took it and it rolled her out that way, it'd be kind of more acceptable. But yeah, she rolled and she chased her. Do you think that kind of just hurt her finish right off the bat, that somebody wasn't completely knocked out? I haven't seen anybody ever do that to Randy Orton with that, even Cody in a way. that's a setup move or something or false.
Yeah, it seems to be. This is like the first of like a bunch of problems that seem to be compiling against her at this point.
Becky's jaw jacking with what was that? Oh, she's mad. Okay. So you got to put herself right in the spot to do that. But, cover your eyes. That's good. I wonder if it's because does she wear sneakers when she wrestles?
She certainly does look like
She
it there,
wears
doesn't
boots.
she?
That could have been the first thing. Yeah. What she did here, look at the toe. Not that I'm an expert. She's got her toe on the rope instead of the center of the shoe. That's why she slipped off. If you look at it slow mo, see what I mean? The point of her toe caught that. Can't really see it there, but her point of her toe hits and the slip. It's incredibly difficult to do this move where you're expected to do like the triple Lindy from Back to School, Rodney Dangerfield, up, and then flip into a diamond cutter or flip into an RKO. It's really tough to do. And with Becky, that feels like forever, doesn't it? It's in slow-mo right now, but Becky just waiting. And then she's about a second late to take the bump. So my question is, now number one, I want the company to be patient with this girl, like you said. You said she's extremely marketable, and I agree totally with that. Give her some grace, give her some patience, maybe take the soul snatcher out for a little bit. Then she gets more comfortable, and maybe she pulls the soul snatcher out when she needs to beat somebody based on the other finish that she couldn't beat him with. Does that make sense? You have to kind of shelve that for a little bit until you're more
It's like
comfortable.
Brock Lesnar's shooting star press kind of thing.
Yeah, and guess what? You know what she could also do? If she slipped like that, say she slipped right there, right down on her head. Just such a degree of difficulty when it comes to that move. It's hard enough for like Cody to do. He does a version, but he goes back and hits the cutter. Dude, there's still an incredible amount of bounce. And let's not forget, in AEW, you got cables like WCW had. These are real ropes. They slip, they just don't feel right sometimes. And that takes a little bit of getting used to, although NXT uses the same rings. But yeah, this is a shame. I can't blame this on Becky. She's just trying to wait for her, and take it. Yep, I've been there, Sol Ruca. You're trying to make you're trying to be like, I'm proud of what I just did, but man, that sucked.
If you go back to the other video again, please, if you would, Stevie, there is one more soul snatcher that we've got to discuss, and that is from Saturday night's main event. And this is the one where, and I've seen people try and defend this, saying, well, she wasn't going for a soul snatcher. The commentators say, or Michael Cole says, someone says, she's hit her with the soul snatcher, when obviously she's hit her more with like a Vader bomb kind of thing. But over to you, Stevie. Is it just another slip, or did something else go wrong?
Well, I'll tell you this right here. I give her credit. You know what she did here? What did she do in the clip before? She tried to run and bounce and then flip. She's going from a static position. She set up a spot where she kicked Becky Lynch and put her in the position. That's good. Yeah, it's just simple. You know what I mean? Make sure you're there. I'll kick you, set it up, and hit it. But here we go. No, she was going for a soul snatcher. What happened was she got the referee. Did she kick her in the shoulder or something? Did she even flip? No, she didn't even flip, right? She just kind of.
Do you think that she realized that she wasn't going to get it very early on, which is why she kept her hands on the top rope?
Yeah, you know what? Doesn't she go in more of a straight up and down and then flip into it like that, like almost like a handstand? Yeah, that's strange. Let's Liv Morgan. Yeah, she's almost like right here. She kicks the one leg up and she's already upside down. In other words, she never achieved full inversion with the referee, with Jessica Carr. She just went out. She looked like she didn't have it measured up, and then her leg or something got caught trying to do, and then she kind of came down into a diamond cutter. Let's take a look again. But here, when she goes up, oh, the right foot slips again. You see it? Watch the right foot. See the right foot slip? So she doesn't have the bounce. She's lower right there. Therefore, she still kind of got it, but she's usually like, by this point, she's inverted straight up and down, and she's able to flip through and hit it. Now, here's the other thing. This might be why she got tripped up. Becky was in the center. Then when you try to pull the referee, it's not a spear. It's not a, like, whatever it might be, where the referee literally takes the spot, the mark, as they would say in Hollywood, and stands there, and you're trying to time it to where Sol Ruca's in this position. I think the referee was too much to the right, and they got jammed up. She should have been more towards where Becky was. You see what I mean? Becky pulled her over, but she wasn't all the way in the center. Do you see that? It's just a little. Yeah, but she totally was trying to hit her with the salt. Well, what else would you hit her with?
Let me ask you this then. Do you think this is all just born out of nerves then? Because, and also, is it like the Jey Uso thing or Io Sky thing, where you do it wrong once and then you overthink, and then it kind of like multiplies the possibility of happening a second time because you're not doing it automatically?
I would say initially, no. And that's where I'm going to give my commentary. We'll go back to that in a second. I say at this point, she might be getting inside her own head of, don't mess it up, don't mess it up, don't mess it up. So what happens when you keep doing that and you try to force yourself to do it right? You overthink and you mess it up. She's incredibly athletic. She has good athletic instincts, and she needs to rely on those. Don't be like me and overthink everything, because you'll be punching and kicking all your life. But in the beginning, this is where I'm talking about the adjustment. I don't have a great answer for this. Shawn Michaels talked about this 3 years to get them ready for the main roster, right? TKO, Nick Khan. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Like, they doing like Make a Deal or, name that tune. Hey, I can make him a wrestler in 20 notes. No, you got to do it in 4. Like, okay. So what I'm looking at is the pattern of Performance Center, NXT, main roster. To their credit, I was at the Performance Center. Dude, it's an NFL level training facility. Recovery, treatment, strength and conditioning, the amount of rings, the levels of classes. In theory, it's awesome. I even heard a rumor back then, I don't know about now, when they were traveling to house shows, they would schedule protein shake breaks, meals, other things to keep them very structured, like an NFL team or a professional sports team. When you get to the main roster, it really is a big culture shock to literally say, I'm a true independent contractor now. Now, hotels, rental cars, long drives, being injured, working through the injury. They get time off, but more times than not, you go to the main roster, you're not telling people you're hurt as much as you really are. You're trying to put on the best face that you can. You're trying to put on the best impression. And I don't want to get sent back to NXT. I want to stay here. I'm making money. So long story short, what I've seen with many talents, and the first talent I noticed it was the Riot Squad. And I mentioned that because of Liv Morgan and where she's at now. And remember in the beginning, man, they were sometimes tripping over their own feet. They didn't get it. And there was an adjustment to being on the road, to doing house shows back then. Just think about the recovery period, and then you're nervous. On top of all that, you're nervous. Then you're looking at the politics and you don't want to make anybody mad and there's all these adjustments you need to make. Hey, by the way, better hit that stall snatcher because you only have one chance to do it right. Is everything I'm saying making sense? That's why Kurt Angle, think about Kurt Angle and even The Rock and other people that came into WWE, like from training and all that stuff. How many independent, even though he wanted to leave Memphis, Flex Cabana in Memphis, he was working a lot. Kurt Angle was training with Dr. Tom. Kurt Angle was doing all these other things to get ready. And guess what happened when he went up to the main roster? Dark match. Dude, Love beat me in a dark match. No, it can't be. Dark match. And guess where Kurt Angle debuted? Sunday Night Heat. Do you see how they eased him into it? Made him comfortable? Tested him at the same time to make sure you're looking it up. I could have swore he debuted
His
on
first match
Heat.
for Survivor Series on TV.
But he came out and cut a promo, didn't he, on Heat?
I don't know.
He cut a promo on Heat. I believe he made it the initial thing you saw with Kurt Angle was on Heat.
One more thing to add about Sol Ruca is like, oh dear, I'm not sure the booking is all there because her debut, she lost to Liv Morgan after hitting this, as we saw, the Soul Snatcher, but she actually hit that right. Then Liv Morgan just rolled off, and it was like, okay, well, that's fine. She obviously...
Can I ask you a question? The honest question, because I don't know the answer. Who is Sol Ruca? Not in a nobody sense like Stevie Richards. What is she about? What's her story? Who is she? Why should I care about her? What's that tattoo mean on her arm? Why is she dressed the way she is? I assume maybe skateboard girl, maybe
surfer, I think, because they got like the water.
Surfer girl. But I know what you're saying, but as a casual fan, well, who is she? Oh, she does a cool move. I saw the cool move. She botched the cool move. I guess she's not that good. But if you're invested emotionally into give her some vignettes. Like, why couldn't you have done that before she debuted? Instead of having her lose her.
It's because they got no patience. That's why. I think it's right. We need to call up 8 people from NXT.
Her vignettes are going to come out next year. Maybe by the end of the year, she'll have her vignettes after you're already tired
the thing
of
is,
her.
like, they brought up Sol Ruca and Ethan Page and Joe Hendry and other people, I think, from NXT, all in the week after WrestleMania as well. So they're just doing a bit of turnover. But I want to ask you this, is that she lost the first match to Liv Morgan. Yeah, fine, it was interference, but also kind of killed the finish of the first week. She loses in NXT because that's kind of her goodbye, so that's fine. She lost to Io Sky clean on Raw 2 weeks ago because she went for the Soul Snatcher and it got reversed. And that didn't look that good either. I didn't include it in the videos.
I was going to say reversing your finish is even worse than people kicking out of it because now everybody can
they
counter
figured it out in 2 weeks it took. And then Sol Ruca defeated Becky Lynch by disqualification in 2 minutes 26 on Saturday night's main event because the referee knows that Becky Lynch
got knocked out.
Yeah, pulled her in front, so she disqualified Becky Lynch. But the point is that
she got the grazing soul snatcher. It
didn't snatch her soul; it grazed it. I guess is what it is. But
it was a warning soul snatch, a soul warning
off the bow, off the starboard bow. There you go. You like a Star Trek thing.
Wow, that's the only thing missing from your cameo besides cigar and a drink is just being on your yacht. Yeah, I'm taking a minute out for the fans here.
Well, you mean listening to like Bread or something? What's yacht rock for you? What's like quintessential yacht apart from Hall and Oates and Michael McDonald?
Well, I like more of love songs than yacht rock.
Ooh, I'm not sure about
I'm
that.
still holding out hope. Maybe Kevin Nash can use his undying influence to get me an 80s love song radio show here in Florida.
Well,
it's my dream.
It's good to have a dream.
Yep. Yep.
It's good to have dreams, Stevie.
Thanks, Jeff Farmer. Wow, what a way to say, yeah, well, nobody cares. Let's move on.
Just saying that's not going to happen. You got to go out there, put some tapes out there, for goodness sake. Reel to reel, or whatever Kevin Nash was saying earlier.
I will not give them the old tape. I'll give them the new tape.
Well, you know, Ric Flair has loads of people on speed dial. Ric Flair has loads of people on speed dial.
That was the one joke I was going to say. If you want to call me, Kev, I'm sure Ric Flair has my number. I couldn't even get it out.
All right, then we're going to leave it there, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back again next Thursday for episode 100 that we don't know what we're doing. Damn it. What are we doing for a full episode?
Hey, as long as I get the you know what would be cool opening, then we'll go from there. 100, it's not a retrospect episode. We're not going back into the archives. It's not a best of. We want to make it special. Maybe we can ask fan questions for episode 100, and just make it a fully interactive show and have all that stuff going on for us. We will think of something. We promise we're going to work hard to make sure by the end of this current episode in the future, you already have an idea what the next episode is.
Okay, then. Just in case we haven't set it in stone and you want to know what episode 100 is going to be, put it in the comments of this video. We may take it in consideration if we haven't decided by Friday morning. Yeah,
Friday.
I think Friday morning's fine. Right then, thank you very much for watching. We're out on YouTube every single day with a fresh clip, including the full episodes that are out on YouTube and, of course, all the podcast platforms. We shall see you again next Thursday, and it is left to Stevie to thank you all, especially the Patreon supporters.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Chris and Chris, long form Chris, short form Chris, and everybody here at the Stevie Richards Show. My Philly accent has been full effect. It's like 99 Philly accents during this to represent the episode. I want to thank everybody here on YouTube. Please remember to subscribe, click the bell to get notified. And of course, like James said, comment below. We love the interaction. And patreon.com/Stevie Richards. Watch alongs every Monday. Show notes every Tuesday. Pre-show, show before the show every Thursday. I'm thinking about adding another perk. Of course, we're talking about the virtual wrestling school, but another perk to that because we want to give you the most amount of value for your hard-earned money. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching episode 99 of the Stevie Richards Show. See you next week where we talk about fill in the blank for episode 100 of the Stevie Richards Show. I'm not going to do it 99 times. Aha, aha, and aha. And how about this? Still got it, baby. No, don't. Stop.